What advice would you give to scientists, PhD students, grad students, young scientists that are trying to explore the space of ideas, given the very unconventional, non-standard, unique set of ideas you've explored in your life and career?
Let's see. Well, the first and most important thing I've learned is not to take too much advice, and so I don't like to give too much advice. But I do have one technique that I found very useful, and this isn't for everybody, but there's a specific demographic. Because a lot of unconventional people reach out to me, and I try to respond and help them and so on. This is a technique that I think is useful for some people. How do I describe it? You need to. It's the act of bifurcating your mind, and you need to have two different regions. One region is the practical region of impact. In other words, how do I get my idea out into the world so that other people recognize it? What should I say? What are people hearing? What are they able to hear? How do I pivot it? What parts do I not talk about? Which journal am I going to publish this in? Is it time now? Do I wait 2 years for this? Like all the practical stuff that is all about how it looks from the outside, right? All the stuff that I can't say this, or I should say this differently, or this is going to freak people out, or this is, this community wants to hear this, so I can pivot it this way. Like all that practical stuff. It's got to be there. Otherwise, you're not going to be in a position to follow up any of your ideas. You're not going to have a career. You're not going to have resources to do anything. But it's very important that can't be the only thing. You need another part of your mind that ignores all that shit completely, because this other part of your mind has to be pure. It has to be, I don't care what anybody else thinks about this. I don't care whether this is publishable, describable. I don't care if anybody gets it. I don't care if anybody thinks it's stupid. This is what I think and why, and give it space to sort of grow, right? And if you try to mush them together, I found that impossible, because the practical stuff poisons the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you're too much on the creative end, you can be an amazing thinker. It just nothing ever materializes. But if you're very practical, it tends to poison the other stuff, because the more you think about how to present things so that other people get it, it constrains and it bends how you start to think. And what I tell my students and others is there's two kinds of advice. There's very practical, specific things, like somebody says, well, you forgot this control, or this isn't the right method, or you shouldn't be. That stuff is gold, and you should take that very seriously, and you should use it to improve your craft, right? And that's like super important. But then there's the meta advice, where people are like, that's not a good way to think about it. Don't work on this. This isn't that stuff is garbage. And even very successful people often give very constraining, terrible advice. Like one of my reviewers in a paper years ago said, I love this Freudian slip. He said he's going to give me constrictive criticism, right? And that's exactly what he gave me, was constrictive criticism. I was like, that's awesome. That's a great typo.
Well, it's very true. I mean, that second, the bifurcation of the mind, is beautifully put. I do think some of the most interesting people I've met are sometimes fall short on the normie side, on the practical, having the emotional intelligence of how do I communicate this with people that have a very different worldview, that are more conservative and more conventional and more kind of fit into the norm. You have to be able to have the skill to fit in.
Yeah.
And then you have to, again, beautifully put, be able to shut that off when you go on your own and think. And having two skills is very important. I think a lot of radical thinkers think that they're sacrificing something by learning the skill of fitting in. But I think if you want to have impact, if you want ideas to resonate and actually lead to, first of all, be able to build great teams that help bring your ideas to life. And second of all, for your ideas to have impact and to scale and to resonate with a large number of people, you have to have that skill.
Yeah.
And those are very different. Those are very different.
Yeah.